Good morning, colleagues and government representatives. My name is Wendy Rodriguez, and I am the Director of the National Directorate of Climate Change of the Secretariat of Natural Resources and Environment of Honduras. It's a pleasure for us to participate in the 15th workshop on facilitating the exchange of point of view and to present the first biennial update report BUR, containing the GHG inventory for the period 2005 to 2015 in compliance with the commitments acquired before the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Honduras is a country in Central America with territorial area of 112,492 square kilometers, of which 56% is covered by forests and around 2% is covered by water. Our population is 10 million inhabitants and the official language is Spanish. Honduras has 6.3 million hectares of forest, 91 protected areas, 25 hydrographic basins, and around 6,800 micro-watersheds. Our country began the presentation of national reports to the UNFCCC in the year 2000, with its first national communication containing the first GHG inventory, reporting emissions for the year 1990. In 2012, its second national communication was presented with a GHG inventory of the year 2000 and approximation of the year 2005. Later, in the year 2015, the first NDC was introduced. Then, in 2019, the third national communication was presented, and in 2020, the first BUR, both containing the GHG inventory for the period 2005 to 2015, and in 2021, the first update of the NDC is stated, and at the beginning of the 2023, the forest reference levels update is reported. Currently, we are in the process of preparing the second BUR that will contain a GHG inventory for the period 2016 to 2020. It's important to mention that the results of the GHG inventory were calculated under the methodology established in the 2006 IPCC guidelines. Here, you can see the value of both emissions and absorptions in gigagrams of CO2 equivalent for all sectors, which for the year 2005, the first year of inventory, corresponded to 3,805.56 gigagrams of CO2 equivalent, and for the year 2015, the last year of the inventory, it corresponded to 8,753.14 gigagrams of CO2 equivalent. Excluding the LULUCF sector, the country's total emissions in 2005 were 30,435.70 gigagrams of CO2 equivalent, and in the year 2015, 16,195.24 gigagrams of CO2 equivalent. When comparing the emissions absorptions of all sectors without considering LULUCF, the importance of the absorptions of this sector is highlighted because when it is included, a decrease in the country's total emissions is observed. It is also worth mentioning that in 2015, the energy sector represented 41% of the GHG emissions, followed by LULUCF with 31%, agriculture with 15%, then IPO sector with 7%, and finally waste with only 6%. Regarding the preparation of the first BUR and the third national communication, these were led by the National Directorate of Climate Change of the Secretariat of Natural Resources and Environment. To achieve this, we have the support and advice of international and national technical teams, and we work in groups formed of government institutions, academia, private companies, and civil society. According to the mitigation actions reported in the first board, 88 initiatives were identified, of which 43 are from the AFOLU sector, representing 49%, 22 in energy with 25%, 14 in input with 16%, and 9 in waste with 10%. Likewise, 30 projects were identified with emission reduction certificates under the Clean Development Mechanism of the Kyoto Protocol, and 3 programs of activities registered in the United Nations UNFCCC until December 2017. It should be noted that with respect to actions in sustainable livestock farming with low emissions, as identified in the first board, the implementation has begun this year, 2023, with the project MAF Livestock Honduras, previously named NAMA Livestock. This project is possible thanks to the financial support of the government of Germany, England, Denmark, and the European Union. Also, we want to highlight that in the current government, chaired by our President Xiomara Castro, the Padre Andrés Tamayo National Reforestation Program is being developed, which is planned to reforest 24,000 hectares of forest during the period of 2023 to 2024, all in compliance with the commitments acquired through the NDC before the UNFCCC. Honduras used the 2006 IPCC guidelines for national greenhouse gas inventories, as they better reflect its national situation and allow consistency with the forest reference emissions level for RED+, which were presented by Honduras to the UNFCCC. Due to the limited availability of activity data, the most basic estimation methodology was used. In Tier 1, national statistics were used in combination with the default emissions factors of the 2006 IPCC guidelines, but for the LULUCF sector, Tier 2 was used, being the national statistic in combination with the emissions factors of the reference level of forest emissions of Honduras. Within the framework of the SINHEI, the system of the GFG inventory worksheets were developed in Excel format for all sectors, which include calculation and results that were presented in gigagrams of GFG and in gigagrams of CO2 equivalent. For what has already been mentioned, the inclusion of the calculation of uncertainties of the activity data and emission factors used in the GSG inventory was identified as one of the most relevant actions to improve in the following reports. Likewise, it is important to consider quality control and assurance for greater reliability of the data obtained. This will allow us for improvements in the reporting of the GFG inventory for future reports. In this regard, it's important to highlight that the support received for the development of action on climate change, both adaptation and mitigation, has been so far substantial, being $74 million for the year 2014 and $84 million for the year 2015 as presented in the first board. Also, to carry out the first board and the third national communication, Honduras received support from the GEF funds in the sum of $852,000, of which $137,160 were allocated for the development of the GFG inventory of 2014 to 2015. As part of the development and improvement process of the Rainforest Transparency Framework, Honduras is currently building the National Climate Change Monitoring System with the support of the Civil Initiative, which has been identified in the first board as one of the most relevant needs for enhancement for the next national reports and communications before the UNFCCC. The more relevant outputs expected with the CIVIT project are as follows. 1. A centralized monitoring system. 2. A set of climate change indicators specific for our country. 3. Operational guidelines, protocols, and institutional arrangements. 4. Developing a financial mechanism for the operation of the monitoring system. And 5. A formal program to strengthen capacities. Honduras already has the GET funds approved and pending disbursement for the next year to be used in the development of the first biennial transparency report, the fourth national communication, and the second biennial transparency report, all to comply with the commitments made before the UNFCCC. Thank you for your time. We highly appreciate this opportunity.